When Grandpa passed away, he left behind $1 billion and a company for my sister and me to choose from. In our previous life, my sister rushed to choose the $1 billion. Later, she became addicted to material pleasures, led a degenerate life, and eventually ended up deeply in debt from high-interest loans. Meanwhile, I used smart investments to grow the company and became a billionaire. My sister regretted her choice and, while being pursued by debt collectors, tried to take me down with her. When we woke up again, we had returned to the moment Grandpa left us the inheritance. This time, my sister didn't hesitate and chose the company. She looked at me triumphantly, "Sister, this time I won't make the wrong choice again. You are destined to be trampled under my feet." I was surprised. Could wielding wealth not be freer than managing a company? Grandfather summoned my sister and me to his bedside in the final moments of his life, his eyes shimmering with hope for our futures. Slowly, he drew 2 gift contracts from the drawer, one for Wentworth Group, the other for $1 billion in cash. Before I could react, my sister had already snatched the company contract and signed her name without hesitation. This sudden move made me realize she had also returned to this pivotal moment. In her past life, she chose money and ultimately fell into ruin. But in this life, she chose responsibility and challenges. "Sis, I know your spending habits," my younger sister said to me with a smile. "This time, I'll let you take $10 billion to enjoy life. The Wentworth Group needs someone capable of shouldering heavy responsibilities." Her words seemed to carry a selfless consideration for me. But that hypocritical smile couldn't conceal the smugness in her heart. Yet I felt no anger. Instead, I secretly rejoiced. In my previous life, it was the lack of startup capital that made me miss the golden age of live streaming sales, leaving me with regrets until death. Now, with this sum of money, my plan can finally be put into action. Not long after Grandpa passed away peacefully, both my sister and I received our respective inheritances. She took over the company, while I was given $1 billion in cash. "Sis, you know what?" my sister boasted triumphantly to me. "The Wentworth Group is worth far more than that measly billion. Just wait and see, I'm about to make history as the new generation's female billionaire." Her eyes sparkled with ambition and confidence. "And what's more," she added, "once I become a billionaire, I'll make sure Mason, the one you like, grovels at my feet." Her words dripped with disdain and provocation directed at me. Faced with her smug complacency, I could only sigh helplessly. I didn't tell her that what Mason valued wasn't the title of billionaire. After all, the Wentworth Group may appear glamorous on the surface, but beneath lies undercurrents and lurking dangers. It's not as wonderful as imagined. In my past life, I exhausted nearly all my efforts and sacrifices to save the Wentworth Group, drinking with tycoons until I developed stomach perforations, playing golf with clients despite a 40-degree fever, even sacrificing my dignity to stake out targets like a paparazzo. I smiled and said, "I hope everything goes as you wish." Upon hearing my words, my sister burst into laughter. "Oh, sister, don't think I can't tell? You're just jealous, aren't you? I don't have time to waste with her, I need to focus on building my career." In my past life, when my best friend Emma showed me the appeal of live streaming sales, I simply didn't have much liquid capital on hand. Even if I had millions in savings, I'd have to use it all to save the company first. Now, staring at the long string of numbers in my bank account, my heart burns with excitement. The regrets of my past life will finally be made up for in this one. Without wasting any time, I immediately started scouting locations to buy properties. After learning that I wanted to invest in live streaming sales, Emma immediately recommended a property to me. It was an unfinished building, dilapidated in appearance, but the price was temptingly low. She said, "This place might not look like much, but the money we save can be fully invested in purchasing top-notch live streaming equipment." I went to the site for an inspection and thought it was quite promising. In my past life, Emma bought 2 properties here and ended up making tens of millions in profit. Though outwardly dilapidated, it concealed immense wealth within. Standing before those unfinished buildings, with the wind blowing through the desolate street, I had already made up my mind. A friend's voice sounded in my ear, whether you buy it or not, I've decided to get a place here. Ah, who told me I don't have enough funds? Unlike you, holding $1 billion in your hands. You can consider better properties. I cut him off. No need for you to buy any more, I'll give you 2 units. She looked at me in disbelief. Huh? I gazed down at the skyscraper before me. I'm planning to buy this entire building. Work with me. She widened her eyes and asked me, for real? I laughed and said, for real. If I'm lying, I'm a dog. After all, in her past life, she was a talent at the forefront of live streaming sales, destined to become a top-tier expert in the field. Okay, you're just too awesome. From now on, you're my boss. I'm sticking with you. Soon my new property was under renovation, with Emma overseeing it. Meanwhile, I started traveling around the market again to look for high-performance filming equipment. For a time, I spent money like water, even faster than my sister had in our previous lives. In the blink of an eye, 200 million had already been invested. That day, I had just transferred 20 million from my account when I received a call from my parents summoning me home for dinner. Their tone wasn't particularly friendly. When I pushed open the door, my younger sister was sprawled on the sofa eating strawberries, looking utterly pleased with herself. As I walked in, a smug and disdainful smile curled at the corners of her lips. Heard you spent 50 million on some dilapidated unfinished building? I frowned slightly. Indeed, from her perspective, this investment looked like a joke. After all, in our previous life, that building remained an unfinished eyesore until the day we died. But in reality, she didn't understand the foresight and courage required behind business investments. In her eyes, only things visible and tangible counted as wealth. Yet how could I possibly explain all this to her? Seeing my silence, my younger sister seemed to grow even more smug. I also heard you plan to buy that outrageously expensive camera? Huh. With your mediocre photography skills, how dare you splurge on such expensive equipment? That's just reckless spending. With the way you're spending money now, she paused, glancing at me mockingly. Be careful you don't end up a street beggar. When you become a beggar, don't expect any help from me. I said calmly, don't worry, I won't come to you. I have mom and dad. I casually reached for a strawberry to eat. But she suddenly grabbed the fruit bowl, jumped up from the sofa, and yelled downstairs to our parents, Dad, Mom. Come quick, look. Sister is trying to hit me. I was just giving sister some well-meaning advice, telling her to spend less money. Even though Grandpa gave those billion to sister, it still represents our family's reputation. But my sister said that even if she spent it all, our parents would cover for her. She hasn't changed at all, always playing the victim and tattling to our parents. They were clearly swayed by her words. They turned to me and asked, your sister meant well. How could you lay a hand on her? I didn't argue. Instead, I picked up the remote, turned on the TV, and quickly pulled up the playback of the living room surveillance footage. The footage clearly shows that at that moment, I was merely reaching for a strawberry from the fruit plate without any aggressive movements. My sister never expected me to decisively pull up the surveillance video. She defended herself with feigned innocence. I thought my sister was going to hit me. After all, she never likes what I say. Even if she didn't hit me, was it really necessary to check the surveillance? She continued arguing unreasonably, Even if you weren't wrong this time, you can't change the fact that you waste money recklessly. Look at that unfinished building you bought, and that outrageously expensive camera, who knows what you even need it for. She seemed to be demanding our parents to discipline me properly. I just calmly asked my parents, don't I have the right to use the billion Grandpa left me? We were indeed concerned when we heard you bought unfinished properties, Dad said slowly. After all, your grandfather left you this money hoping you'd accomplish something with it, not for you to squander it on unnecessary purchases. I understood their worries would remain until I achieved something concrete. Lowering my head, I said, I understand. I'll be more careful with the remaining money. Seeing me apparently admitting my mistake, my sister gave me a triumphant glance before launching into a lengthy account of her own achievements. Mom, Dad, did you know? I've secured a deal with Michael to purchase a large batch of new equipment for the group at a low price. Experts estimate Wentworth Group's market value is about to double. I frowned slightly. That same Michael had approached me about a deal too. But after my investigation, I found quality issues with that batch of equipment, so I turned him down. I never expected he would hold a grudge over it, sabotaging me by making sure I couldn't find any alternative equipment, which led to me being forced to drink until I developed a stomach perforation and was hospitalized. Though I didn't want to pay my sister any attention, Wentworth Group was, after all, the empire Grandpa had painstakingly built. Out of consideration for the family business, I kindly reminded her, it would be best to conduct sample testing on the equipment before making bulk purchases for the group. As if I don't know that. Stop pretending to be a do-gooder. You're just jealous of me, jealous that I'm developing the group more successfully and better than you ever imagined. She went even further, saying, all you do is spend money recklessly all day. Be careful you don't develop a habit that bankrupts our entire family. You should hand over the money to our parents instead. If it were me, I would have handed it all over long ago. Her words reeked of hypocrisy and cunning. I remember clearly, in my past life when my sister controlled those $1 billion, she never handed the money over to our parents as she now claims she would. On the contrary, the moment she got the money, she immediately flew to the Maldives to enjoy a luxurious 6-month vacation. For her, those island days were an endless party, always surrounded by handsome, obedient young men. Her reckless spending eventually raised concerns and intervention from our parents. When they suggested managing her remaining funds, my sister actually blamed me for poisoning their ears against her. She even accused me of sabotage, claiming I maliciously wanted to seize her remaining money, and spread these rumors everywhere. It nearly ruined my reputation. But when our parents heard her accusations, they didn't blindly believe her. Instead, they asked for my opinion. After all, that $1 billion was left to me by our grandfather, not to them. I smiled faintly and said, Mom, Dad, give me a year. After a year, I'll hand over the money to you to manage. Mom and Dad didn't say anything, but my younger sister expressed her dissatisfaction. If you only hand it over after a year, you'll have spent it all by then. I think our family will be ruined by you sooner or later. When you end up broke, my company won't take you in. Only when Mom and Dad grew impatient with her words did my sister slowly quiet down. In my past life, she always looked down on me, comparing herself to me in everything, never willing to back down until she came out on top. Since childhood, she always demanded the best, newest, and most expensive things, while I, as the elder sister, shouldered more family responsibilities to ease our parents' burdens. I gave her all the good things without reservation. Yet it seemed this could never satisfy her insatiable greed. The vase I painstakingly saved to buy was smashed by her, new clothes were cut into rags the next day, even my hard-completed homework was torn to pieces. The college entrance exam year was worse. Despite being poised to score top marks, she deliberately gave me expired milk that made me ill. I still managed grades good enough for elite universities, but it wasn't what I could have achieved. Ironically, she, the one with the whole family accompanying her for exams, only barely got into a third-rate school. Yet she still insisted on throwing a grand celebration banquet, as if her results had reached the pinnacle of the world. Even when Grandpa drafted his will, she didn't hesitate to claim the $1 billion in cash. As her older sister, I always yielded to her. If she wanted it, I let her have it. But she squandered that money on nothing but pleasure, splurging in high-end boutiques, not to mention lavishing it on one handsome man after another. In the blink of an eye, 5 years passed, and that $1 billion was gone without a single cent left. At that time, I had already propelled the Wentworth Group to new heights, achieving dazzling accomplishments in the business world and becoming the youngest billionaire in history. My life also became more colorful through dating a top celebrity, Mason. Rumors swirled that he only approached me for money or was being kept by me. But Mason never explained any of the misunderstandings or gossip about our relationship. Only I knew that when we first met, it was during his darkest hour of hardship and despair. I was the one who reached out to redeem him. My younger sister returned just as we were about to enter the wedding hall. Yet she came begging for my help, claiming she owed $3 billion in loan shark debts. That staggering number left me stunned. But what shocked me even more was her shameless demand that I repay her debts. Faced with such an absurd request, I refused without hesitation. As her elder sister, though I'd always been tolerant and caring toward her, that didn't mean I would indulge her wrongdoings. Yet that very evening, events took a dramatic turn. The loan shark showed up at our doorstep and, without any room for negotiation, publicly released my sister's past scandalous photos online, causing a sensation. They even broke into our home and live-streamed the humiliation of my sister. Such extreme and vile behavior completely crossed the legal line. We immediately reported the incident to the police. Authorities swiftly intervened, launching an investigation and identifying several key suspects for pursuit. But when the police confronted the loan shark gang, the situation took a sudden turn. One of the gang members, losing control, fired shots at us. As the bullet whizzed toward us, at this critical moment, my sister actually pulled me in front of her to take the bullet. She remains the same arrogant, hypocritical, and unrepentant person. Even after being reborn into a new life, she hasn't changed at all. After the family gathering, I continued to focus on my career. Emma and I formed a live-streaming team and signed several promising, positive-minded artists as hosts. After persisting for a month, the sales in the live-streaming room exceeded 100,000. Although this was just a drop in the bucket compared to our initial investment, it was enough to pleasantly surprise us. Just as we raised our glasses to celebrate this joy, my sister called on video. Seeing me at the roadside stall, she immediately launched into her habitual mockery. "Sis, you're so tacky. How can you even stomach such garbage food?" Yet in the next second, her camera panned, and what appeared before my eyes was Mason. See? This time I met him first. Soon the world's most handsome man will be mine. Just as she was brimming with confidence, Mason suddenly looked in our direction. My sister almost jumped with excitement, whispering to me, "Oh my God. He's walking toward me." I knew it, in Mason's eyes, I'm the most beautiful. Her feigned smugness was plastered across her face, as if she already considered Mason her personal property. Yet when Mason approached, he instead asked, "You're Amelia's younger sister, right? Could I get your sister's phone number?" At that very moment, a news alert flashed on my phone. Wentworth Group stock plummets following equipment quality issues. My sister, who had been ecstatic about Mason moments earlier, suddenly fell silent. One urgent phone call after another began interrupting the video call. I believe someone must be going crazy with anxiety right now. Tonight is destined to be extraordinary. I finished my drink and hurried to the party where Mason was. I almost forgot, during this exact period in my past life, something crucial happened. Mason was drugged at a party and fell into crisis. The scene plays back vividly in my memory. Him collapsed unconscious, surrounded by men unbuckling their belts with malicious grins. When I arrived at the party, my sister had already left early, and sure enough, Mason had fallen victim. He was already gone. Drawing on my memories from the previous life, I immediately headed for the hotel. I knocked on the door and shouted that the police were coming. The men inside, with their pants half off, grabbed their trousers and fled at the sound. Only then did I manage to help Mason, who was in an abnormal state and disoriented, out of the party. I took him back to the apartment, his brows furrowed in pain. My heart wrestled with the decision, but in the end, I chose to help him. After all, being slept with by me was better than by a group of men. Besides, he would eventually be my man anyway. Sooner or later, it would happen. Just as I turned to take a shower, I suddenly felt a tight grip around my waist. "Help me." His voice was hoarse and deep. Through the vanity mirror, I saw his dark eyes, which usually sparkled like stars, now filled with helplessness and pitifulness. My heart softened, and I whispered to comfort him, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." I turned and kissed his lips, falling into the abyss together with him. The morning sunlight filtered through the gaps in the curtains, casting a glow on Mason's handsome face. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at me, without any disgust or resistance, but with a complex sense of gratitude. He knew that last night he had almost fallen into a trap. If I hadn't appeared and saved him by sacrificing myself, he would have been ruined long ago. "Thank you for saving me." The voice was low and sincere. "You're welcome." I waved my hand dismissively. I knew all too well that being too good-looking could also be a burden. It was precisely because of Mason's overly handsome face that he had inadvertently offended a certain big shot in the entertainment industry, resulting in being blacklisted with nowhere to stand. People outside the circle only saw his glamour, unaware that he walked on thin ice every day, where a single misstep could lead to utter ruin. "About last night." He hesitated. "Name your price, I'll do my best to compensate you." "No need." I waved my hand, knowing full well he didn't have much money to begin with, otherwise he wouldn't have been at that kind of party last night, becoming a plaything for capitalists. But after some thought, I added, "If you really want to make it up to me, I have an opportunity." I handed him a business card. "My company is hiring." Mason took the business card, glanced at it, and immediately lit up with excitement. "You're Amelia? The president of Fantasy Network who's currently recruiting artists? I heard you're willing to give every artist a chance. I've been secretly blacklisted, would you still dare to take me on?" I raised an eyebrow. So when she asked my sister for my phone number last night, she was trying to seize an opportunity. Such a golden opportunity never existed in my past life. Even after I rescued him back then, he remained depressed for a long time afterward. I was the one who stayed by his side during those tough times, until he climbed back to the top and publicly announced our relationship. Snapping back to the present, I smiled and said, "Having such an outstanding artist like you join my company is truly an honor." Knowing he couldn't return to his place recently, with those troublemakers still watching him, I left my apartment keys with him. "There's food in the fridge, cook for yourself. I'll be staying at the company these days and won't be back for now. Take some time to adjust, and we'll discuss the contract details later." He looked at me gratefully, his dark eyes gleaming. I felt embarrassed under his gaze and quickly found an excuse to slip away. Returning to the company, I browsed through news about Wentworth Group for a while. Their stocks were nearly collapsing, and buyers who had previously purchased Tang family equipment were demanding refunds en masse. The Wentworth Group executives were as frantic as ants on a hot griddle. Just as I was about to turn off my phone, my younger sister called. Her voice carried extreme urgency mixed with shameless entitlement. "Big sister, how much of that 1 billion do you have left? Since you can't possibly spend it all anyway, why not take it out to help me repurchase equipment? I want the best and most expensive one, preferably delivered to my company building this afternoon. Drop everything you're doing and go buy the equipment for me right now. Go." I truly couldn't understand how she could still be so arrogant, shamelessly confident that I would help her. I replied coldly, "No money." After hanging up, I blocked her number immediately. There was a time when I had reached out to her during my darkest hour. But she refused me without hesitation. All those things were left to me by Grandpa. I need to use them to buy gifts for my new boyfriend. She even said more harshly, "Even if you go bankrupt and beg, don't expect to get a single penny from me." From then on, I saw through her completely. In those pitch-black, hopeless days, no one extended a helping hand. In order to meet with clients, I chose the most extreme method, sleeping on the ground outside their doors. For 3 consecutive days, I only ate 1 bag of bread and didn't dare drink more than a sip of water, afraid of missing any chance to connect with the clients. Perhaps it was my perseverance that moved them, but the clients finally signed the contract, and I gradually began to see success. Since she chose the company, she should be capable of such determination and hard work in the business world. However, I never expected my sister to share this incident in the family group chat, exaggerating how I indulged in pleasure while neglecting the life and death of Wentworth Group. Hypocritically, she claimed to have poured her heart and soul into Wentworth Group, only to suffer grievances at my hands. The family group chat immediately erupted in chaos. Relatives lined up to accuse me of being heartless and cold-blooded, demanding that I return the billion-dollar inheritance to Wentworth Group. Without the Wentworth Group, you're nothing but trash. As an older sister, you're so selfish, your conscience must have been eaten by dogs. Similar comments flooded the entire group chat. Somehow, they spread online, and the rumors even took on a different nature. Netizens scolded me for being shameless, not only taking my sister's $1 billion for my own pleasure but also disregarding her well-being. The relatives demanded that my parents kick me out of the Wentworth family, saying they were ashamed to have someone like me. A flood of accusations and rumors came pouring in. My sister even hypocritically stood up to defend me. Everyone, please don't blame my sister, she must have her reasons. As long as she's happy every day, I don't mind suffering a little. The internet exploded even more, with everyone encouraging and comforting her while hurling abuse and scorn at me. Just like that, I became public enemy number one. Whenever I went out, people would throw rotten vegetables and eggs at me. The company employees look at me with doubt in their eyes, and some even want to resign. My parents also sent me messages, telling me to go abroad to avoid the situation. Emma asked me worriedly, "Do you need PR?" "I've already found someone." Even Mason sent me a message, asking if I wanted him to post a clarification stating that I'm not that kind of person. At this moment, my younger sister called me. "Daring to block me, how does it feel to be cyberbullied?" "Sis, just give me the unused $1 billion you have left to cover the losses from those devices, and I'll sincerely help clear your name. Otherwise, you can stay blacklisted forever." See? She clearly knows how to clear my name, yet she deliberately manipulates public opinion, painting me darker and darker. I sneered, "Chloe, do you really think I can't clear my own name? Don't forget, I warned you to inspect that batch of equipment. It was your arrogance and stubbornness to oppose me that got you scammed. Oh, you're not thinking of checking the surveillance footage, are you? Ha ha ha." She laughed triumphantly, her voice dripping with schadenfreude. "Too bad, I already had someone hack the system. You've got no evidence now." I looked at the surveillance USB drive in my hand with the recovered data, curling my lips into a smile. "Oh really? Don't forget, I majored in computer science in college. Data recovery was just a matter of time. I've let you dance around for a few days, now it's my turn." I directly posted the compiled surveillance footage on social media, attaching the inheritance transfer agreement and my capital flow records. Of my 1 billion yuan, aside from the 300 million I invested, 500 million went to charity while 200 million were deposited as fixed-term savings. The surveillance footage clearly showed that I had reminded her to pay attention to equipment safety, and also captured her accusations and disdain toward me. "Stop pretending to be the good guy. You're just jealous of me. Why should I listen to you and run tests? I refuse to test it, I choose to trust him, to believe my judgment isn't wrong." Netizens quickly grasped the situation, and the tide of public opinion gradually shifted. The family group chat suddenly fell silent, with several relatives even sending me apologies. I scoffed and blocked them all. All the accusations that had been directed at me now turned toward my sister. I pulled up the home surveillance feed and saw her throwing a tantrum inside the house. She must be out of her mind. 500 million, how could she just donate it all to charity? That's our family's money. She'd rather give it away than help me, she's doing this on purpose. Dad, Mom. My sister is lying to you. She says she'll hand over those $1 billion to you in a year, but she's a total fraud. She squandered all our family's money. A liar. Our parents were both exasperated. Stop bringing up your sister. You made this mess yourself, figure out how to fix it. Doing charity is a good thing. You shouldn't speak of your sister like that. You'd better think of a way to make up for the company's losses quickly. I turned off the surveillance cameras, feeling quite pleased. A few days later, my sister sent me a message, "Since you're pushing me this hard, don't blame me for what happens next." I was curious, what new trick did she have up her sleeve? 3 days later, a news notification popped up on my phone. Wentworth Group and Ravenswood Industries announce marriage alliance. In the accompanying photo, my sister stood beside Richard in an extravagant gown, clutching his arm tightly as if he were a prized trophy. Richard, a name that carried significant weight in the business world. I raised an eyebrow. This time, my sister had picked the right pawn. Although this heir is old and ugly, with this marriage alliance as support, it's enough to help the crumbling Wentworth Group regain its footing. Looking back to my past life, when facing the company's crisis, I had also considered using marriage to solve the problem. But after investigation, I learned that Richard had two young and beautiful wives who died, both victims of his domestic violence. Now at the advanced age of 40, he's a full 20 years older than my sister. I still warned my sister, while marriage can resolve the group's current crisis, you should thoroughly understand that man, it's best to avoid being alone with him. Unexpectedly, she replied lightning fast, "Humph. You just can't stand to see me doing well. Now that you see I'm about to turn my life around as Richard's wife, you're getting jealous, aren't you? How petty." I rolled my eyes. After all, it's not me who'll end up dead. Although Wentworth Group might experience a temporary resurgence through this marriage alliance, I knew it would only be short-lived. For any enterprise to stand the test of time, it must continuously attract new clients and expand into new markets. It can't rely solely on a one-time marital collaboration. Unfortunately, my sister didn't seem to realize this. She began frequenting various luxury venues, squandering her limited savings just as she had done before her rebirth. After all, habits formed over a lifetime are hard to break. Even in this new life, when it comes to money, she remains the same extravagant and insatiable person. That day, Emma complained to me with a cloud of worry over her face. The company's revenue growth was frustratingly slow, primarily due to the lack of influential streamers who could drive traffic. She sighed helplessly, "I've tried my best to sign every possible talent. Could it be that our company has hit a plateau?" As I listened, a sudden idea flashed through my mind, Mason. Without much thought, I grabbed the contract and hurried home. But as I reached the door, my heart began to race. Involuntarily, the shy scene from that night surfaced in my mind. We were so close, his crisp breath filling all of me. My cheeks instantly burned red. Just as I mustered the courage to knock, the door unexpectedly opened. Mason appeared in the doorway holding a bag of trash, and we stared at each other, both frozen in surprise. His collar was slightly open, revealing a glimpse of his sexy collarbone, and I could almost recall the sensation of kissing there, making my face flush even more. "You're back," he said softly. "I'm just taking out the trash." With those words, he brushed past me. Stepping inside, it felt like I had returned to the days when we used to live together. The room, which had once been messy and chaotic because of my disorganization, was now neat and spotlessly clean. Mason remained the same as ever, a meticulous man who knew how to live well. While I was lost in thought, he quickly returned. Seeing me standing in the living room looking around, he promptly turned on the air conditioning and poured me a glass of warm water, placing it within reach. For a moment, it felt as though I had become the guest, while he was the master of this house. He hurriedly explained, "I noticed your face is flushed, you must be feeling hot? Drinking some warm water might help." It would have been better not to explain. Yet, under the gaze of those lake-clear, profound eyes, my heartbeat involuntarily quickened. I quickly pulled the contract from my bag. "Have you made your decision?" He picked up the contract, glanced through it, then signed without hesitation. "Thank you for taking me in these past days. I truly wouldn't have known where to go otherwise. And thank you for giving me this opportunity." His eyes shone brightly, clearly in much better spirits than the last time we met. I encouraged him, "Remember, there are no obstacles in this world that can't be overcome. As long as you bravely move forward, you'll find the sunny path that belongs to you." "Thank you," he said with even more sincerity in his tone. I couldn't help but laugh. "On TV, you seem quite aloof. I didn't expect you to be so fond of saying thank you in private." His face suddenly flushed red. Beneath his fair and clean appearance, the hidden shyness made him exceptionally adorable. I was completely captivated. The two of us gazed at each other quietly, a subtle yet awkward atmosphere hanging in the air. Suddenly, as if we both realized something at the same time, our cheeks flushed with a blush. Mason quickly broke the tension, standing up and heading toward the kitchen. "I'll go cook something." "No need, I still have work to do at the company." I hastily made an excuse, grabbed my bag, and fled in a rush. It wasn't until I ran downstairs that I realized, this is my apartment. Why does it feel like it's become his territory? Forget it, forget it. His career is at a low point right now, just let him stay for now. The next morning, I brought the contract to Emma and asked her to assign Mason some hosting tasks and help him build a new persona. Emma had just opened the contract when she jumped up from her chair in shock, spitting coffee all over the floor. Pfft. Oh my God. Mason? Am I seeing things? How did you manage to sign him? Mason is the celebrity she's been a fan of for 5 years. In our past life, when Mason went public about dating me, she was the first to rush to me, demanding I tell her every detail of our love story, leaving nothing out. But I didn't tell her that Mason was already living at my place. If she knew, she'd definitely try climbing through my window immediately. Mason came to work very soon. The moment he entered the company, the entire studio's atmosphere changed. His aloof demeanor, unintentionally revealed, made people hesitant to approach yet unable to look away. There was no need to fabricate any other persona for him. Sitting there, he seemed like a man detached from the world, drawing everyone's gaze. In the live stream, with Mason's arrival, the number of viewers skyrocketed, quickly reaching an all-time high. Fans went wild with tips, comments, and shares, instantly turning the entire live stream into a stage exclusively for Mason. After the live stream ended, I saw my sister's post on the forum. She said she spent $1 million for Mason and topped the streamer's donation list. The funny thing is, she also mentioned that Mason asked for her address and would send her a special gift, which she was eagerly anticipating. I raised an eyebrow and glanced at the mountain of figurines piled in the corner. These were just standard gifts sent to top donors after every stream. In reality, it wasn't the streamer personally asking for addresses, it's just routine work handled by staff members. The sole purpose is to console those fans who spent a fortune on tipping, to calm their restless hearts, and to make them feel that their money wasn't wasted. I selected the most inconspicuous figurine from that pile and handed it to the staff, reminding them, Chloe already has a fiancé, so even when sending gifts, we need to be mindful of the implications. Afterward, I liked that post, very grateful to my sister for gifting me so much money. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. Just 3 days after Mason started streaming, we received a ban notice. The reason was that he had been secretly blacklisted, prohibited from appearing on any public platform. I immediately went to find Mason, only to see him sitting in the darkest corner, his face so pale it seemed it might shatter at the slightest touch. Standing not far away, waves of heartache surged within me. Emma leaned in, her brow furrowed. How could such a handsome and talented actor be blacklisted? This is truly inhuman. After Emma was called away by a colleague, Mason approached me. I've lost all value, he said dejectedly. Just fire me. I asked him, are you giving up so easily? He fell silent. But from the unconcealed fire in his eyes, I could see the deep-seated resentment in his heart. After all, he clearly had both talent and looks, wanting for nothing, yet he was still willing to give his all. For roles and jobs others shunned or were unwilling to take, he would charge ahead without complaint. Yet, simply because he was too strikingly handsome and refused the advances of a certain privileged young master, he was blacklisted. How utterly absurd. I said, last time, your fame came half from your looks and half from luck. This time, prove yourself with 100% of your ability. Mason looked up at me with a bewildered expression. Go behind the scenes. Work in the charity sector to demonstrate your contributions and concerns for society. As long as you can prove your positive image and value through actions and gain public recognition, I believe you can return to your peak. I patted him on the shoulder encouragingly. Trust me, give yourself a chance. Mason looked at me, and those deep, dark eyes gradually softened. All right, he finally replied. Although Mason had been blacklisted within the industry, few insiders knew about it. To the public eye, he remained the radiant, highly acclaimed Mason. His appearance at our company created momentum, instantly attracting collaborations from numerous industry heavyweights. The number of live streaming rooms kept increasing, and revenue rose rapidly at an astonishing pace. On the day of the family gathering, after finishing my work, I casually picked out an elegant little dress from the collection Emma had helped curate and hurried to the villa. Upon entering, I ran into my sister. She maintained her nouveau riche, ostentatious style, wearing an expensive designer gown, carrying the latest designer handbag, and adorned with a complete set of diamond and jade jewelry. She stood at the center of the crowd, brimming with pride and arrogance like a victor. A group of girls surrounded her, obeying her every word, further accentuating her superior demeanor. As soon as she noticed me entering her line of sight, she abruptly changed the topic, lacing her words with mockery and disdain. Well, look who's here. What a rare guest. So you do remember to come back. TSK. Look at what you're wearing, could that be some cheap stall bargain? Even with all that money, you still don't dare buy branded clothes? Truly, you'll never shake off that wretched, impoverished look. As all eyes at the party focused between us, someone suddenly stepped forward and pointed at my clothes in shock. Oh my God! Isn't this Master Benjamin's private custom design? Priceless and impossible to buy. How could you possibly have this? All eyes instantly turned to me. I was completely bewildered. My sister's face, however, fell, her gaze venomously fixed on me. The crowd's attention shifted once again because of Master Benjamin's work. Did you know? A voice rang out, full of awe. Master Benjamin's works are far more precious than any luxury brand. Not to mention their incredible collectible value. The implication was clear, this dress of mine far surpassed any expensive gown in the room. The girls who had been clustering around my sister now gathered around me instead, casting envious or even covetous glances my way. Set against Master Benjamin's creation, even the diamond earrings I'd bought for a few thousand yuan seemed to gain extraordinary worth. In contrast, my sister's flamboyant and ostentatious attire appeared particularly jarring under such comparison. Faced with this completely different situation from before, her eyes brimmed with unconcealable envy. She shouted at me accusingly, "You'd rather spend a fortune on such expensive clothes than lend me money to buy equipment. How heartless. Such vanity." I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Lend? In her vocabulary, that word never carried any intention of repayment. The onlooker's expression subtly shifted. Calmly, I explained, this dress wasn't purchased by me. It was acquired at a charity auction. I never expected it to be a masterpiece by Benjamin, I simply chose it because the style suited me. The crowd around nodded frequently upon hearing this, their gazes shifting from initial skepticism to admiration and praise. So that's how it is. Who would have thought? Discussions arose one after another. My sister was so furious she gritted her teeth, having no choice but to turn away in angry frustration. I walked into the garden, just wanting to find a spot to sit down. But my sister came over again, leading a group of young girls. She was holding an exquisite miniature teacup figurine in her hands, cradling it like a treasure. Her triumphant voice seemed deliberately aimed at me. Do you know? This is a gift from Mason. If I weren't already engaged, he would have promised me a lifetime. This is his token of affection for me. The champagne I was sipping nearly sprayed from my mouth. Originally, that teacup figurine was meant to imply she was too fake, capable of holding all kinds of tea. Who knew she'd interpret it as something entirely different in her mind? I couldn't help but step closer to remind her, you should be careful. It's best not to let your fiancé find out, after all, no one wants their fiancé still pining for someone else. But who would have thought my goodwill would be met with her sharp retort? Humph. You're just sour grapes because you can't have what I have. Jealous that Mason gave me a teacup and not you. I love whatever Mason gives me, so what? She even hugged it to her chest, looking utterly enchanted as she said, I'm planning to put it by my bedside and sleep with it every night." Watching her triumphant expression, I really wanted to tell her that the gift in her hands was actually just the cheapest corporate freebie. Would she explode if she knew the truth? After the banquet, Richard personally came to pick up my sister. Just as they reached the doorway, Richard lashed out at my sister. First, he smashed her teacup figurine collection, then delivered a stinging slap across her face. Clutching her cheek, my sister turned to throw herself into our mother's arms, only to spot me standing a short distance away. Suddenly pointing at me, she began hurling furious accusations. "It's all your fault. You must have told Richard on purpose." Her voice was shrill, dripping with venom. "Just because Mason gave me presents and not you, you're jealous. How could you be so vicious? You can't stand to see me happy for 1 second." Faced with such absurd slander, I could only roll my eyes helplessly. The narcissism was truly off the charts. Mom pulled my agitated sister back and said wearily, "That teacup wasn't anything special to begin with. You've been showing it off to everyone, even Richard's sister saw it." "How could Richard not know?" "Stop wrongly accusing your sister." Richard had already strode over and yanked my sister from Mom's embrace. Gripping her shoulders with a dark expression, he began explaining why he hit her. "I love you so much, yet you secretly kept another man's gift behind my back. You even told so many people you'd sleep with it. How do you expect me to take that? If this hadn't gotten out, it would have been fine, but now everyone knows. You've made me a laughingstock. This slap at least lets me salvage some dignity." Then he suddenly changed his attitude, pulling my sister into an embrace, caressing her cheek with exaggerated tenderness like she was some pitiful little thing. "Baby, I'm sorry, I was just putting on a show. I never meant to really hit you. You understand, don't you? After all, I love you so much. How could I bear to hurt you? The pain on your face is agony in my heart." In the end, Richard still coaxed my sister into leaving with him. Though the mark from his slap still lingered on her face, her eyes gleamed with a twisted sort of triumph. She seemed to be telling me through this, "See, even so, someone still adores me." I smiled. This Richard truly excels at playing mind games. No wonder his 2 previous wives never thought to resist until they were beaten to death. I hope my sister can endure this twisted version of love from Richard too. After that slap, my sister miraculously stayed subdued for quite a long time. Meanwhile, I grew increasingly busier. My company brought in countless powerhouse celebrities, and the number of live streaming rooms skyrocketed. To ensure product quality, I personally conducted trials and taste tests, and established a dedicated team for long-term testing. Only with genuine effort will customers be willing to pay. Precisely because of our commitment to quality and innovative spirit, daily sales repeatedly reached new highs within a month, peaking at an astonishing 5 million. Emma screamed excitedly on the phone, "You're absolutely a business prodigy, ah." As my income doubled, my charity projects also flourished. Photos of Mason supporting children in mountainous areas suddenly went viral online. He carried a whole case of books and stationery, trudging with difficulty along the muddy mountain path. His clothes were covered in mud splatters, and blisters had formed on his shoulders. "This is the Mason we know. Mason is working so hard, it breaks my heart." Fans were crying in the comments section. But soon, rumors spread that Mason was doing charity work because he needed to clean up his image after being blacklisted. These words immediately sparked outrage among the fanbase. They quickly mobilized to find the person behind the rumors and seek justice for Mason. The power of the internet is always astonishing, especially when it's mobilized for justice. Fans swiftly uncovered the mastermind behind the scenes like detectives, then launched a cyber witch hunt. Mason also posted his first message after being banned at this time: "Life isn't easy, everyone is fighting for themselves. So am I. I've been struggling along this path. Looks might have given me a good start, but from now on, let me speak with my abilities." These few simple words hit like a heavyweight punch, stirring waves of emotion among fans. Even my younger sister stepped in to help. She used Richard's network to directly bring down that powerful figure. I was somewhat surprised she finally did something decent for once. But she quickly sent me a message. This time it was me who saved Mason. Don't even think about taking advantage of the situation. So she went to such great lengths just to strike at me. Unfortunately, she's going to be disappointed. Mason has long been my man. Both his body and heart belong to me. After returning from the mountains, Mason came straight to my office. His starry eyes shone with light again as he excitedly showed me the scripts that had been contacting him during this period. I smiled and asked, "What do you think?" His handsome face was filled with determination and resolve. During this time doing charity work, I've seen many people in need of help. I want to continue supporting them. I raised an eyebrow slightly. He continued, "But my strength alone is limited. I want to return to the entertainment industry to be a spokesperson for charity. By working hard again, I also want to emulate you, to dedicate most of my income to helping those children." I nodded and smiled in satisfaction. I always knew he was not only hardworking and ambitious but also kind-hearted. In the future, he would undoubtedly become a rising star in the charity sector. In my previous life, after he became a top celebrity again, he channeled nearly all his earnings into charity, ultimately becoming the undisputed benchmark of philanthropy in the entertainment industry. He gave me all the scripts and let me choose for him. I selected one that seemed promising. As he left, he solemnly promised me, "Amelia, believe me, I will definitely set a good example for our fantasy network. At the very least, I won't let you down." His deep, dark eyes gazed at me intently. I knew, just like in my past life, after pulling him out of the mire and guiding him toward the light, he would look back at me and still feel moved by me. I was in a great mood, so when I saw the team-building party proposal that had been delayed for over half a month, I approved it right away. It was time for the employees to relax and unwind. After Mason returned to the entertainment industry, Fantasy Network gained immense fame and quickly became a trending topic across the internet. Capitalists eagerly extended olive branches, seeking to collaborate with Fantasy. The most dramatic part was that my sister also sent a letter of intent for cooperation to my company's email. Her tone was gentle and soft, completely devoid of her usual arrogance and pride. Her attitude was surprisingly humble and polite. "Dear President of Fantasy, we would like to inquire if you would consider partnering with our new product under the Wentworth Group." I almost laughed out loud. If I told her that Fantasy Network was founded by me, she would surely go mad with anger, wouldn't she? But I chose to remain silent, filtering through a few collaboration projects in my inbox and scheduling meetings with the relevant company owners to discuss intentions. My sister continued to flood my inbox with partnership proposals. I couldn't even be bothered to glance at her name. I rejected them all with a single click. Yet she refused to give up, even showing up at the company's annual team-building cocktail party, clearly hoping to get lucky. When she spotted me, her eyes filled with disdain and contempt. "What are you doing here?" she sneered. She sneered at me coldly. "You must be here for Mason, right? What a pity, he's long been out of your league." Just then Mason happened to walk by holding champagne, trailed by a group of girls clamoring for autographs. My younger sister immediately rushed over to join them. Mason glanced at me first. Mistaking us for ordinary sisters, he stopped and bypassed the crowd of girls to hand my sister a signed photo. She instantly shrieked with excitement on the spot. Waving the autographed picture triumphantly in my face, she gloated, "See that, sis? Mason clearly has feelings for me. Otherwise why would he ignore all those beauties and hand the signed photo directly to me?" Then she warned me again, "I'd advise you to stop deluding yourself. Mason would never fall for a woman like you in this lifetime." She pretentiously adjusted her collar and declared with full confidence, "Later I'll be discussing a collaboration with the CEO of Fantasy Corporation. You'd better get lost. I don't want the CEO knowing I have a sister as disgraceful as you." No matter what she said, I just smiled faintly. At this point, I couldn't help reminding her, to discuss collaboration, you'd first need to actually meet the CEO of Fantasy Corporation. Otherwise, it would be quite embarrassing to fail at securing the deal without even meeting the person. My sister snorted arrogantly, "Do you think I'm as incompetent as you?" I'll be meeting the CEO soon. Once this collaboration succeeds, Wentworth Group will skyrocket. And you? You couldn't catch up with me even riding a rocket. I smiled and nodded, then I wish you all the best. After dealing with his little fan club, Mason strode toward us with his long legs. My sister's eyes immediately glued themselves to him again. Mason is coming over. Oh my God. Mason looks so handsome tonight. Too bad his eyes are only for me. Some people can be jealous all they want, it won't do them any good. I rolled my eyes in exasperation. Before Mason could even get close, my sister eagerly rushed to meet him. She kept finding topics to chat with him, asked for a photo to commemorate the moment, and occasionally threw provocative and smug glances at me. It wasn't until Mason said he had something else to attend to that my sister finally let him go. She quickly ran back to show me a post she had just hastily uploaded. Besides the photo with Mason, there was a caption, "Mason really has great taste, he only chooses the best girls." In just a few minutes, it had already received tons of likes. I was stunned. How dare she be so brazen? Is she really not afraid of Richard's fists? She thought I was envious and was about to mock me when Mason's voice sounded above us. "Amelia, could we have a drink?" "Sure." My sister answered instantly, flushing with excitement as she quickly picked up her champagne glass. Mason looked embarrassed. "Sorry, I meant to have a drink with your sister." My sister's expression froze instantly. Mason, unaware of our strained relationship, glanced at me questioningly. I gave him a look that said, "You figure it out yourself." Only then did my sister realize that not only did we know each other long ago, but our relationship was already far from ordinary. Suddenly, she understood that all she had just said was nothing but a laughably absurd performance in my eyes. She flew into a rage instantly and splashed champagne right at me. "Amelia, you bitch. You lied to me." She screamed sharply, "It was you who seduced Mason. He clearly had feelings for me first." Mason immediately took off his coat and draped it over me, his face darkening as he called for security. "Get this lunatic out of here." My sister looked utterly disbelieving, her voice sharp with accusation. "Mason, I was the one who helped you take down the powerful figures who ruined you. Don't you know that? You clearly fell for me because of this, why won't you admit it?" Mason's brow furrowed deeply. "I'm grateful you helped me get revenge, but that doesn't give you the right to insult your sister. I've tolerated your harassment only out of respect for her. How could you even spread rumors that I like you?" Security quickly arrived and restrained my sister, who seemed to have lost all reason. She seemed provoked and retorted loudly, "Impossible. Mason, how could you not like me? I was clearly the one who helped you first." Watching her get dragged away by security, I smiled coldly. In my previous life, after Mason and I got engaged, my younger sister had pestered me about our love story. Finding it tiresome, I gave her a simplified version. I said that I had once helped him when he was blacklisted, and that made him fall for me. She naively believed that merely offering help could make Mason develop feelings. She was wrong, dead wrong. Mason is a responsible and dependable man. Ever since I saved him at that cocktail party, he's felt indebted to me. Later, I helped him make a comeback in the entertainment industry, eventually reaching the top as a superstar. It was me who constantly encouraged and supported him. His feelings for me evolved from initial indebtedness to gradually becoming inseparable from me, until his heart was completely filled with me. This was the result of my step-by-step efforts. It's not something she could obtain with just one simple move. How foolish and naive she is. Mason noticed I kept my head down without speaking and said worriedly, "Sorry, I didn't know you two didn't get along well. I'll find another way to repay her for helping me. I won't put you in an awkward position. Let me take you to the lounge to change clothes first, alright?" He put his arm around my shoulders and led me away, completely unafraid of any gossip that might arise. Emma seemed to pick up on something and flashed me a knowing smile. Then she immediately ordered those who had taken sneaky photos to delete everything. "Anyone who dares leak even a hint of this will have me, Fantasia, as their enemy." After changing clothes, I left the party. I hadn't made an appearance as Fantasia's CEO that evening. After all, the fantasy genre developed too rapidly, especially with a female CEO at the helm, making it all too easy to fall victim to schemes. Only by maintaining an air of mystery could we continuously attract new clientele and secure a foothold in the market. Early in the morning, I received an urgent call from my parents. "Come to the hospital right away, your sister has been admitted." On my way to the hospital, I first sought to understand the full story behind what had happened. It turned out that my sister repeatedly asked Richard for money and even reached into the financial department of Ravenswood Industries, embezzling a huge sum of funds. Not only did she use the money to buy many luxury items, but she also spent most of it on Mason. The most outrageous part is that she even posted online yesterday to show off. Coincidentally, Richard, who was drunk, saw it. In a moment of impulse, he lost control of his emotions and accidentally injured her. All I can say is, every villain meets their match. I rushed to the hospital and saw Richard kneeling by the hospital bed, his face full of remorse as he begged my sister for forgiveness. "I'm sorry, baby. I love you so much, I was just afraid of losing you. That's why I accidentally hurt you. I promise it won't happen again. Please forgive me, okay?" As I reached the doorway, I happened to see my sister's attitude softening as she reached out her hand toward Richard. But the moment she saw me, her eyes instantly filled with nothing but shame and resentment. "It's all your fault," she shrieked at me. "If you hadn't liked him, why would I have wanted to take the person you loved? Get out. Get out of here." She waved her arms wildly, as if trying to push all the blame onto me. I could only feel absurd and ridiculous. Just because I liked him, you had to take him away? Without any regard for the consequences? And now you're turning around to blame me? This is beyond ridiculous. Today, I'm going to tear off her hypocritical mask completely and let everyone see just how shameless she truly is. Ever since we were little, anything I liked, you always found a way to take it away. When Mom and Dad bought me new clothes, if you saw them and liked them, you'd immediately put them on yourself. The teddy bear Mom and Dad bought for me, if you liked it, you'd immediately take it into your room. Even the certificate of honor I worked so hard to earn, you snatched it just to show off and get Mom and Dad to buy you designer bags and clothes. It feels like in this world, whatever I have must become yours simply because you want it. Is it just because I'm the older sister and you're the younger one? Yes. She didn't even try to hide her insatiable greed, screaming at me, exactly because I'm the younger sister. You should give in to me unconditionally, anything you like must be given to me first. Our parents walked in from outside, their faces filled with disbelief. Perhaps only then did they realize that many things weren't given to my sister because I didn't like them. But if my younger sister liked something, it would automatically become something I disliked. The moment she saw them, she immediately put on a pitiful expression and began to cry. Actually, it was Mason who approached me first. I didn't steal him from my sister, she just misunderstood me. She put on that victim act again. My whole body hurts so much right now, I feel terrible. Dad, Mom, I'm in so much pain. Our parents stood frozen, probably assessing the authenticity of her performance. Richard, however, anxiously called for the doctor while cradling my sister in his arms like a precious treasure. My sister also tightly clutched Richard's clothes, clearly having forgiven his mistake. I watched them with a cold laugh. How wonderful, may they stay locked together forever. I returned to the company and buried myself in work again. Emma sidled up to me mysteriously. Seeing her excited and agitated expression, I thought the company's sales had broken records again. Instead, she confronted me. "Tell me, when did you and Mason start?" I lowered my head and continued reviewing documents. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, still keeping it from me?" "Others might not notice, but I can tell the way you look at Mason is special. Clearly you see him as family. He is from our company after all, so he's practically family." "That's not the same. Ryan is also from our company, but the way you look at Ryan isn't as. I looked up at her. genuinely curious about how others perceived the way I looked at Mason. She finally thought of a word and said emphatically, flirtatious. Yes, the way you look at Mason is way too flirtatious. It's that kind of confident flirtation as if he's already become your man. I coughed lightly and pushed her away. You're overthinking it. Hey, you're guilty. I changed the subject, picking up a document and asking, why was Wentworth Group's collaboration proposal submitted here? She glanced at it and immediately got angry. Hey, the assistant must have taken bribes from them. Don't worry, I'll go settle accounts with them. After taking 2 steps, she turned back and asked me, I heard your sister was beaten up by her fiancé and hospitalized, true or false? Yeah, true. My God. That's explosive. Serves her right. Someone who could treat her own sister so cruelly deserves to end up with such trash for a fiancé. Emma knows quite a bit about the relationship between my sister and me. She's always been indignant on my behalf, but since it's ultimately my family matter, she only dares to curse a few words without truly intervening. Hearing her say this, my mood lifted with joy. Didn't you always want to try that biggest seafood buffet downtown? After work today, it's my treat. Emma jumped up excitedly, wow. I knew you'd be the best to me. As she left, she held the door and said playfully, don't worry, I'll help you invite Mason along. I grabbed the Wentworth Group document and hurled it toward the door. She swiftly closed it and dodged out of sight. These days my sister has been hospitalized, and Richard makes 2 trips to the hospital daily, truly head over heels for her. As if no one could tell he'd loved 2 ex-girlfriends just as intensely. I often see my sister flaunting their romance online. Richard buys her limited edition designer bags. Despite his hectic schedule, he still handcrafts heart-shaped lunchboxes for her. Richard would peel fruit for her, even crafting fancy shapes to feed her. It seemed Richard was truly head over heels in love with her. Wrapped in this cocoon of happiness and affection, she had nearly forgotten how she ended up in the hospital. I couldn't stand watching these nauseating photos and blocked her immediately. After I blacklisted her last time, our parents found out and made me unblock her. They said, after all, your sister's by blood, no need to make things so ugly. But they truly underestimated just how shameless and troublemaking my sister could be. That noon, Ryan rushed in breathlessly from outside, his face plastered with shock and gossip. Boss, you wouldn't believe it, this is explosive news. Wentworth Group's capital chain has snapped. The board is going crazy right now. I raised an eyebrow. The crisis lurking within Wentworth Group had finally erupted, half a year earlier than I'd anticipated. I bet my foolish sister had something to do with it. Ryan knew about my relationship with my sister, so he understood my interest in Wentworth Group's rise and fall, though I wouldn't interfere with its fate. Excitedly, he gossiped about the inside scoop on the Tang family. Just now, word broke within Wentworth Group, their cash flow suddenly dried up. The most absurd part is that when the board demanded Wentworth Group CEO Chloe provide funds to solve the problem, she actually couldn't produce the money. Even more outrageous is that Richard had recently invested a massive sum into Wentworth Group, and all of it vanished into thin air. The board exploded in fury, demanding a thorough investigation. Chloe tried to stop it, claiming she could find a way to resolve the issue. Little did she know, an IT department employee acted too quickly and uncovered everything. Turns out, all that money had been embezzled by Chloe to buy designer clothes, luxury handbags, and other extravagant items. Outwardly glamorous, high and mighty, thinking so highly of themselves, yet hiding such terrifying spending desires, it's truly eye-opening. And there's more, there's more. Ryan hadn't even finished before he started laughing himself. That's not all, she still has $3 million in debt at the mall, and the collectors have even come to the company to demand payment. Ha ha ha. It really is far more outrageous than I imagined. This sister of mine always manages to do things beyond my wildest expectations. I asked Ryan to continue keeping an eye on Wentworth Group. The subsequent development of Wentworth Group also unfolded as I had anticipated. The board's anger and disappointment intertwined into a terrifying vortex, wreaking havoc within the company. Several senior founding members directly demanded to withdraw their shares. Even if they withdrew, the group didn't have enough dividends to pay them. This was an absolute disaster for a listed company. News began reporting the disintegration of Wentworth Group's top management, with shareholders panic selling, causing the stock market to plummet. As for me, I bought up all those shares sold at low prices as a mysterious buyer. Wentworth Group clearly had limitless potential, but under my sister's control, it suffered one disastrous failure after another. Through the surveillance, I saw my sister going crazy again. My parents had their own assets to manage and probably got tired of my sister's bottomless demands, so they flew abroad early on. When my sister returned home and found that our parents weren't paying attention to her anymore, she got so angry that she smashed a whole living room full of blue and white porcelain. It's just a minor crisis. You all run faster than anyone else. I'm a future billionaire. If you don't help me now, you won't be able to reach me later. The housekeeper called me and said, Chloe's mental state doesn't seem quite right. She might as well have directly said I was delusional. Can't even handle a small group, yet dreams of becoming a billionaire? What a pipe dream. I said, don't mind her. Just take care of things at home. No trouble at all. You'd better stay away for now too. Chloe's been asking around about you everywhere. Word is she's in deep debt outside and too scared to tell Richard. If she finds you, she'll definitely try to get you to help pay it off. She won't find me anytime soon. Good, that's great. I saw in the surveillance footage that the nanny had just hung up the phone when my sister immediately asked if she had contacted me. The nanny shook her head right away. Furious, my sister kicked a nearby potted plant again. She started searching for me in every possible way, contacting all our mutual friends one by one. Those close to me were well aware of our strained relationship and knew my current worth, so they wouldn't tell her that I was sitting in this abandoned building, signing deals worth hundreds of millions. And those who weren't close to me generally had no idea about my situation. Unable to find me, she resorted to playing the victim again, spreading rumors in the family group chat. Unfortunately, with the lesson from last time, no one was willing to buy into it this time. The unpaid bills from the mall had already been impatiently delivered to Richard's doorstep. As expected, my sister got beaten again. The reason? She had once again embarrassed Richard. What surprised me was that before the bruises on my sister's face had even faded, she chose to forgive him again under Richard's sweet talk. Moreover, the two announced their marriage and hastily obtained a marriage certificate. Although Wentworth Group has weathered another crisis, it has lost its former glory. What was once a listed corporation has now shrunk into a small enterprise teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. Batch after batch of core employees have left, utterly disillusioned with the group's leadership. Even 45% of the company's shares have ended up in my hands. Yet none of this has made my younger sister recognize the crisis. She remains as arrogant as ever, clinging to some inexplicable confidence that she will eventually become a billionaire. She told Richard, when I become a billionaire, I'll repay your investment in Wentworth Group tenfold, no, 20-fold. Richard actually believed it too. Even though Wentworth Group had become a bottomless pit now, he was still pouring money into it. Go ahead and pour away. If you don't pour, how would you know just how deep this pit is? My company is steadily growing, with daily sales consistently exceeding my expectations. Emma's screams frequently rang in my ears. OMG. Amelia, you're amazing. Ah. Amelia, you're about to get filthy rich. Oh my God. Amelia, you made it onto our city's rich list. In less than 2 years, my total assets reached billions. I patted Emma on the shoulder and said, it's not just me who's going to get rich, we're getting rich together. In my past life, she also turned her initial investment of $2 million into tens of millions within just a few years. And now, I've invested hundreds of times more than she did. This is just the beginning, I told her seriously. There's so much more to come. Don't celebrate too soon. She looked shocked. You're not thinking of quitting, are you? Or has this opportunity already passed? I said with a smile, there will be hundreds, thousands, even billions more in the future. Let's save the excitement for then. She patted her chest and rolled her eyes at me. You scared me to death. I thought you were going back to run your Wentworth Group. A business prodigy like you, wherever you go, I'll follow. It's no wonder she was worried. The Wentworth Group is on the verge of bankruptcy at any moment, and I've already secretly acquired the majority of its shares, clearly preparing to save it. After all, the Wentworth Group was Grandpa's life's work, and I certainly won't let it go bankrupt. But saving the Wentworth Group isn't something to be done right now. Richard is still pouring money into my sister's venture. When he finally can't keep it up anymore, I'll completely acquire Wentworth Group. I'll make Wentworth Group my private enterprise. Dad's 60th birthday is approaching. Since he and Mom often fly domestically and internationally, which must be exhausting, I bought a billion-dollar island near their property by the sea. On the day of the birthday banquet, as soon as I arrived at the venue, my sister turned her accusations toward me. Sis, didn't you say you'd hand over that $1 billion to Mom and Dad for safekeeping? It's been almost 2 years now, where's the money? I knew you were just talking big. Don't think doing a little charity can cover up your past. You've definitely squandered all that money, spending it all to satisfy your vanity. In an instant, all eyes in the room were fixed on me, filled with scrutiny. I just stood there quietly, ignoring her. But my silence seemed to have become her weapon against me. See, she sneered triumphantly. Sister has nothing to say, I must have hit the mark, haven't I? Talking about charity in public, but who knows what kind of shady dealings go on behind the scenes. They must have squandered that $1 billion completely, then used charity to buy themselves a good reputation. I admire your skill in deception, managing to fool everyone so completely. A faint smile curved the corners of my lips. Unfortunately, I'm going to disappoint you again. I took a document out of my bag and handed it to my father. This is the $1 billion. My sister glanced at it disdainfully and continued berating me on her own. Trying to spin another lie to fool Dad? Do you think handing over a document will just make this whole thing go away? You're being utterly delusional. Before the words were fully spoken, Dad sprang up from his chair in an instant. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. Mom leaned over to take a look, then covered her mouth and gasped, "Oh my God." This reaction immediately caught everyone's attention. They held their breath, eager to find out what was in that document. My younger sister also curiously moved closer to peek, then immediately cried out, "Impossible. How could this be?" Dad laughed heartily and said to the curious crowd, "My precious daughter bought me an island worth $1 billion. The entire room gasped in shock. I smiled and said, "Thanks to my charity project, I met someone willing to sell me the island at a 20% discount. I've been there to check it out, the climate is perfect, ideal for retirement. This island now officially belongs to Mom and Dad." But my sister turned pale with jealousy, nearly going mad. She glared at me and demanded, "Where did you get so much money? Aren't you supposed to be doing charity? That money must be dirty." My parents both looked displeased, even showing signs of annoyance. I smiled and said, "I'm not a fool. Why wouldn't I make money with so much capital?" Dad suddenly asked, "Chloe, is that a gift for me in your hand?" What my sister was holding was an exquisitely packaged pair of men's cufflinks. In comparison, using cufflinks as a birthday gift seemed both shabby and thoughtless. My sister was startled and instantly hid the gift she was clutching behind her back. "Of course not. The gift I got for Dad is far more valuable than yours, and it shows much more thoughtfulness too." She flustered to explain, yet still couldn't resist belittling me. I feigned surprise and asked, "Wow, then it must be worth over $1 billion, right? Hurry and show it to everyone." All eyes turned to her at once. Her face flushed crimson, clearly unable to produce anything, yet still stubbornly pretending otherwise. Father grew even more displeased. All right, everyone please return to the lawn to continue the cocktail party." Richard felt humiliated. He just glared at his sister with a darkened expression, making her turn pale with fright. Meanwhile, I was immediately surrounded by the guests. Amelia is truly amazing. Amelia, how did you manage to earn so much money in such a short time? Amelia, you've already donated 500 million to charity, yet how did you earn back another 500 million in just 1 year? I smiled without answering, and when pressed further, I'd say, you'll find out when the time comes. Let me keep it a mystery for now and blow your minds later. Just then, Mason arrived. Dressed in a tailored suit, he stepped gracefully onto the lawn. The breeze lifted his soft locks, his handsome face strikingly radiant under the sunlight. Every gesture exuded an irresistible mature charm and aristocratic coldness, instantly elevating the atmosphere to its peak. Not long ago, his new drama had just premiered to sensational acclaim. With his acting skills, he captivated audiences and won several prestigious awards. His fame once again resounded throughout the entertainment industry. The moment he approached, he became the center of attention. Why did Mason come here? Someone asked excitedly. He smiled and replied, Amelia and I are friends. On such an important day, it's only right that I come to visit her father. Then Mason walked toward me as well. Seeing me frozen in place, he tilted his head. Amelia, why don't you introduce me to your father? Noticing my parents watching us, I immediately flushed red and quickly pulled Mason into a corner to demand, what are you doing here? Didn't I say our relationship needs to stay secret for now? Yes, through Emma's arrangements, we've been carrying on an underground romance for half a year already. He always wanted to go public, but I kept insisting we keep it quiet. He replied, we're just friends, isn't that what you said? Can't I visit and bring birthday gifts when a friend's father turns 60? Helpless, since he was already here, I had no choice but to take him to see my parents. My mom and dad happily chatted with him, subtly probing about our relationship. Although he only referred to us as friends, the resentful yet helpless glances he kept shooting my way practically confessed our true relationship. This made my parents even more delighted. They insisted he stay for a couple days, specifically mentioning that I'd be home keeping them company during that time. Unexpectedly, Mason immediately nodded in agreement and said, it just so happens I have no schedule these days, and we really hit it off. I won't stand on ceremony then, I'll stay and keep you company. I helplessly massaged my temples and happened to catch my younger sister sitting across from me, glaring at me with venomous eyes. When our gazes met, she suddenly flashed me a sinister smile, as if plotting something again. That night, I was sleeping soundly when noises came from next door. After Mason stayed, Mom had deliberately arranged for him to occupy the neighboring room. Our beds were separated by just a single wall. I turned on the light and listened carefully for sounds from the opposite wall, but there was nothing. Feeling inexplicably uneasy, I immediately knocked on the door across the way. The housekeeper was startled by me and came over to ask, are you thirsty too? I said, bring me the spare key to this room. Seeing my urgency, the housekeeper hastily brought the key and casually remarked, the dishes were a bit salty tonight. Both Mason and Chloe got up to drink water. I thought you might be thirsty too. My unease grew stronger, and I immediately opened the door and rushed in. The sound of the door slamming against the wall startled Richard, who also lived next door. He came out and asked, what's going on? Suddenly, a scream came from inside the room. It was a sound he knew all too well, the terrified shriek his sister would let out every time he hit her. He immediately bolted toward the room. By then, I had already dragged my sister, who was stripped naked, off Mason's bed with all my strength. Mason's clothes had been half removed, and he was completely out of his senses. His forehead was covered in blood, nearly disfigured. Clearly, the sound earlier was him desperately banging his head against the wall in distress. Seeing me, he finally seemed to relax before passing out. Furious, I kicked my sister twice and shouted at the nanny, call an ambulance, now. Chloe! You shameless woman! I swear I'll beat you to death today, you vile wretch! Richard strode in, grabbing her by the hair and dragging her out. Chloe screamed in terror, her shrill cries piercing the air. It wasn't me, it wasn't me. He seduced me first. save me, sister. Dad, Mom, save me. Richard yanked her straight into the room and locked the door behind them. Immediately, my sister's agonized sobs and screams erupted from inside. I felt not an ounce of pity, holding Mason's head as my expression darkened to its limit. Had I not always been a light sleeper, the slightest noise enough to wake me, Mason might have, tonight. I didn't dare to think about it. At this moment, I utterly despised her. I truly couldn't understand why she was so determined to take everything from me by any means necessary. Even if she couldn't take it, she had to destroy it. Our parents were also shocked, unable to believe my sister could do something so shameless. Hearing the increasingly weak screams from the room, both parents were visibly torn. Finally, Dad kicked the door open and roared, "Enough. Stop this right now, I want to hear Chloe's explanation. Daddy, save me, save me." My sister crawled toward Dad with great difficulty, a large pool of blood beneath her. Dad was startled and said angrily, You, how could you do something so foolish? That's your brother-in-law, how could you? Ah. Mom exclaimed, "Oh my God, why is there so much blood?" Richard's face was dark with anger, and the veins on his clenched fists bulged. The ambulance soon took both of them away. Once the diagnostic report came out, all the evidence was conclusive. Mason had been drugged. And I also pulled up the surveillance footage, which showed that late last night, Mason went downstairs to get water, and my sister followed him. She told Mason there was no water in the living room, so she brought some from the kitchen. Mason never imagined his younger sister would be bold enough to drug him at home. He took the water and drank it. As soon as he went upstairs, he sensed something was wrong. His sister immediately supported him and guided him toward the bedroom. The moment they entered, she locked the door behind them. After watching the surveillance footage, their parents' faces turned grim. Richard was seething with anger. If the doctor hadn't come out and said that my sister had lost her 3-month-old baby, he might have rushed in to hit her. Mother was heartbroken. What kind of thing is this to do? Chloe is simply out of her mind. I didn't go to see my sister. After Mason woke up, I took him back to my apartment. Seeing my troubled expression, he deliberately teased, "If I had accidentally let your sister succeed, would you still want me?" I glared at him, "You know full well I don't get along with her." "What were you talking to her about?" He came over and hugged me. "All right, my mistake. I swear I won't say another word to her ever again." But I was still furious. I called Emma and told her to proceed with the plan ahead of schedule, to acquire Wentworth Group early. Since she's repeatedly schemed against me and stolen what I hold dear, I'll make sure she ends up with nothing, becoming exactly the kind of person she despises most. My sister woke up 2 days later. Upon learning she had lost the baby, she shamelessly blamed it all on me. It's all her fault. If she hadn't lured Mason into our home, I would never have done such a thing. I lost my baby because she deliberately called Richard over, intentionally made Richard kill my child. She just couldn't stand seeing me happy, couldn't bear Richard doting on me, couldn't accept that I could bear Richard's heir. Slap. Dad couldn't take it anymore and gave my sister a resounding slap across the face. "How dare you speak about your sister like that? You've completely disgraced our family name. Chloe, why can't you reflect on your actions? Your sister has always looked out for you and been patient with you. Yet here you are, constantly slandering her and even trying to ruin her marriage." Mom said with deep disappointment in her voice. My sister glared with bloodshot eyes, "You always take her side, never mine. What kind of biased parents are you? Just wait until I become a billionaire, then you'll see who your truly outstanding daughter is. As for her, she doesn't even deserve to be called my sister." Dad let out a cold laugh, too disappointed to even respond to such words. Mom sighed, "Chloe, you probably don't know yet, Wentworth Group has been acquired by Chihuan. Richard handled the aftermath of Wentworth Group for you. The little shares you had were all sold, and it wasn't even enough to pay the employees' wages. Chihuan covered the shortfall for you in advance. You still owe Chihuan $50 million now. Richard isn't planning to help you with this money, you'll have to figure it out yourself. Your father and I are old and tired. We've decided to retire on the island your sister gave us, and we won't be coming back. If you miss us, come visit us on the island. Well, take care of yourself. With that, Mom and Dad got up and left. After a long while, the ward erupted with my sister's hysterical screams and the sound of shattering cups. No, impossible. I'm the billionaire of Wentworth Group, how could I be in debt? I don't believe it, I don't believe it. Richard walked in carrying a food box, and only then did my sister calm down, curling up in a corner of the bed, her face filled with terror. Stop daydreaming. Eat up and come home with me. No, I won't go back. I want a divorce, I want a divorce. Richard smiled, turned around, and shut the ward door behind him, locking it. Soon after, agonized screams echoed through the entire hallway. But this was Richard's private hospital, no one dared linger outside the door. 6 months later, I encountered my sister again at Wentworth Group's cocktail party. The thick layers of makeup couldn't conceal her sunken cheeks. Rumor had it Richard had knocked out her teeth, causing facial collapse. When she saw me standing with Mason, she suddenly charged toward us but was swiftly intercepted by alert bodyguards. Miss, please refrain from causing trouble. Pointing at me, she shrieked like a fishwife, who do you think you are? What right do you have to be here? I smiled and gestured toward the large screen behind her. Take a look first before speaking. She turned around, it was the Forbes list. My portrait scrolled across the screen before finally landing at the 10th position. Then my portrait pulsated again as it began narrating my glorious achievements. The eyes of everyone in the venue converged on that giant screen. OMG, Amelia is only 30 and she's already the richest person in our city. Look. Amelia is actually the mysterious CEO behind Fantasia. Oh my god, Wentworth Group was also saved by Amelia gradually buying up shares and finally acquiring it. Exactly. Just half a year ago, Wentworth Group was on the brink of bankruptcy, and now, in less than 6 months, it's back among the top 500 companies in the country. Amelia is truly a business prodigy. I heard she has a younger sister who was the former president of Wentworth Group. Don't even mention her. What a mess she was, causing so much trouble she nearly drove the group into bankruptcy. I've heard that although she's now Mrs. Song from a wealthy family, she gets no affection from Richard at all. Whenever Richard is displeased, he takes it out on her. She's already lost 2 babies from the beatings. TSK, Richard is old and ugly, and has the habit of beating his wife. Who knows what she saw in him with those eyes of hers? I watched as my younger sister stared fixedly at the big screen, her entire body petrified like stone. I said, thank you. If you hadn't let me have those $1 billion, I truly wouldn't have been able to build this empire. My current assets far exceed those of the billionaire I was in my previous life. I added as a reminder, oh, by the way, I've given you 6 months grace. Don't forget to return that $50 million to me. My younger sister turned around and glared at me with vicious, venomous eyes. If looks could kill, I'd have been dead hundreds of times over. I don't believe it. This is fake. There's no way you could be Fantasy's CEO. No way you could be on Forbes. I want a do-over, I demand a do-over. She pulled out a fruit knife from who knows where and charged at me. I took a step back, and Mason immediately stepped forward and kicked her away. The bodyguard quickly rushed over and pinned her down. Afterward, I heard that she went back and got beaten by Richard again. This time it was quite severe, she was almost beaten to death. I called Richard and told him I could forget about the $50 million, but he couldn't beat her to death. If she died, he'd have to pay me back those $50 million. Sometimes, living is more painful than dying. After that, my sister still tried to get close to me, wanting to restart her life. Unfortunately, Mason protected me so thoroughly that she couldn't find any opportunity. Every time she tried to kill me, Richard would beat her once. Each time harsher than the last, until eventually she didn't dare provoke me anymore. Mason and I held our wedding on my parents' private island. My sister didn't attend the ceremony that day. I heard she sold several of her formerly cherished designer bags, yet still couldn't afford a single plane ticket to the island. Moreover, those accustomed to a life of luxury can hardly endure poverty. Before she could save enough for a plane ticket, she'd spend the money on new clothes and knockoff bags instead, a vicious cycle that left her increasingly destitute. On the island, I nestled in Mason's arms, gazing at the endless sea of camellias before us. Casually, I asked him, "How do you always protect me so well?" She had so many chances to get close to me, yet not once did she slip past your watchful eyes. He gently kissed the tip of my nose. I had a dream where you took a bullet for her, and I woke up terrified. In that moment, I felt so heartbroken. That's why I secretly vowed to protect you. I'll never let that nightmare happen again.